the Dietitian, and welcome to part 3 of my 3-part series where I show you how I meal plan and meal prep for my family. If you haven't already checked out parts 1 and 2, please make sure to watch those videos. In part 1, I showed you how I meal planned for the week using a weekly meal planner, and with the groceries that I had on hand, came up with 5 dinners that I was planning on making for my family for the week. In part 2 of the series, I showed you how I meal prepped the pasta and the chili dishes that I had planned for the week to make a couple different meals. And here in part 3 of the series, I'm going to show you how all these meals turned out. With meal planning and meal prepping, it's always good to have some level of flexibility and adaptability to your plans so that if things come up out of the ordinary, which it did for us, you can still adjust, you can still make healthier choices, and you don't have to resort to dining out or hitting up a drive-through to get some meals in. And that's exactly what I try to do when I'm meal planning for the week. I try to make sure that my meals are interchangeable so that if something comes up, I have an easy out. I have an easy way of making another healthy meal that I know is going to feed my family. And that's what happened to us this week. My son ended up getting sick. He had fevers for a few days, and one of the nights I had made some plans to actually do a little bit of prepping that night of, and it was just not feasible for us. He wasn't feeling well, and I had to be mom, and I had to take care of my son. So instead, we switched around some plans to utilize what we already had on hand to make an easy, healthy meal that night, and then kind of adjusted our plans for the rest of the week accordingly. And I ended up getting all my meals in. They all turned out pretty good, I would say. And again, keep in mind, I'm just a dietitian. I'm not a trained chef or cook. So I'm not trying to show you these beautiful social media worthy meals here. I'm just trying to show you the reality of what it's like to prepare and plan healthy meals for the week so that you and your family can make better choices. All right, so let's get started. Let's see how those meals turned out, what kind of little prepping I had to do the day of to make it all come together so that you can see how that 5-day of meals for the night, for dinner time, turned out for me and my family. All right, let's go.
Here is my meal planner with the 5 meals that I had planned for this week. On Monday, I had the pasta with salad kit planned. On Tuesday, the chili with the homemade tortilla chips made in the air fryer. On Wednesday, the salmon burger with pita and a salad kit. On Thursday, the pasta with the salad kit. And then for Saturday, I had planned to have the chili with rice. So let's see how all of these meals turned out during the week. Well, for Monday night, things went just as planned. We had the pasta with the salad kit as we had planned with our meal planning, and the meal prepping was super helpful because all I had to do was just reheat the pasta that I had already made and put together the salad kit, and this is what I ended up with. I filled half of my plate with that salad and half of it with that pasta that already had veggies mixed in there and ground turkey for protein. And this was a really delicious, filling meal after a long day of work. And we were able to adjust this for my toddler very well as well. He had the same pasta we did. Instead, on the side, he had some cucumbers, some grapes, and some pieces of cheese to go along with it, so that he eats pretty much what we do as well, at least similar. On Tuesday night, our plans went just as planned as well. We had the chili with the homemade tortilla chips. And I actually made those tortilla chips in the air fryer, and I'll walk you through how I did that. It was a very simple process. I'm not sure that I would do it again just because the amount of tortilla chips I got at the end wasn't necessarily big enough of a portion for us. I would probably have to run the air fryer maybe twice. And at that point, I'd probably just make these in the oven instead. But this was a very simple process of making it. If you enjoy tortilla chips, I think tortilla chips can really be part of a healthy diet, as long as you're, 1, practicing portion control, and 2, finding healthier alternatives compared to just the regular flour tortilla chips. Either finding a healthier store-bought alternative that's going to be lower in sodium and higher in fibers, especially ones with blue corn or the ones with any seeds or whole grains added in, are great options to add more fiber to the tortilla chip. or you can make them at home. So typically what I like to do is I'll make these in the oven, where you do just as what I'm doing right now. You cut your tortilla up into tortilla chip size, and usually I'll stack a couple tortillas at a time to cut a couple at a time to make it more efficient. And then what you do when you're putting them in the oven is that you brush them with oil on both sides, and then you just stick them in the oven. I believe you flip them halfway through, and I can find a recipe and link that below if you would like, but very simple process usually to make them in the oven, and you can make a big batch at a time. The one thing with making them fresh like this is that you do have to eat them pretty much the same day. They do stay okay for the next day, but it's still not the same, that fresh crunch, versus like a store-bought chip. So it would be something to make kind of the night of or the day of, whenever you're having it. But it's a much healthier alternative to a store-bought option if you have the time to do it. So when I came across this air fryer recipe, I thought this would be a good way to try it out and see if this might be simpler in the air fryer, because with the oven, it always takes a little bit longer. Of course, you got to preheat your oven and you got to get the pan out, and it's just a lengthier process to do that. So I thought maybe I could try it out in the air fryer. And I have a decent size air fryer. I'll provide a link below for the one that I have. I ended up getting it on deals, some holiday sale deal, and it's pretty decent sized. But even with that, I just couldn't find a good way to fit in a lot of tortilla chip pieces in there. So the amount we got at the end was just enough to basically feed our toddler. My husband and I probably just had a couple to test it out, and my toddler ended up eating most of these. So you could see I tried not to overcrowd it in there too much because I was afraid they wouldn't crisp up well enough if I did. So I'm trying to move things around to see if I can be a little bit more efficient with the use of my space, but that was about all I could fit in there really. Whereas if you use a big baking sheet for the oven, you definitely can fit a lot more on there. Usually that makes plenty for all of us to have some, and then some leftovers for the next day too, which we'll still eat even if it's not at its fresh, crunchiest point. So what you do with these, once you get them cut up, you get them lined up in your air fryer, is that you're going to be spraying it with oil. And this is another way that this becomes a healthier version compared to something store-bought. And I'm using the canola oil spray, and you can use any sort of a oil spray with this. It just helps cut back on that fat content versus tortilla chips that are actually deep fried. Now don't get me wrong, some fresh deep fried tortilla chips that you're going to have at a Mexican restaurant is going to taste amazing, and I could never take away from that. So that is something to enjoy in moderation in times when you are eating out. Versus something like this might be a good alternative on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to set my air fryer to 350 for 3 minutes. And then once they came out after 3 minutes, they didn't look too promising at this point. They still weren't very crispy yet. It said to just kind of toss them around, flip around a little bit, and then spray them once again and put them back in. So I tried to separate them out as best as I can. They were kind of getting stuck together, and I didn't want them to be stuck together because I was afraid they wouldn't crisp up if they were. So I did my best to try to spread them out around again before I used that canola oil to spray. Now I don't know if maybe I got a little bit of a different result here because I was using a carb balanced tortilla chip versus just a regular flour tortilla. But not a tortilla chip, a flour tortilla. But I put it back in for 350 for another 3 minutes, hoping that this time around they would come out nice and crispy. And surprisingly, they did. They looked pretty good at this point. I was really surprised that those 3 minutes made such a big difference. And I just tossed them around a little bit. Now keep in mind with this, I try to keep the salt content pretty low, and this is what they look like. They were actually pretty crispy. You can kind of see me crisp it. I wish I could have you listen to the crisp noise, but my son was yelling in the background. And this was my chili for the night. I topped it up with some cheese, and that tortilla chip that I showed you earlier is going to go along with it. It tasted amazing dipped in there. Altogether, it was great. My only qualm was that there were not enough tortilla chips for the three of us because my toddler ate pretty much that entire plate that you saw. But overall, this was a really delicious, filling meal to have all together. And for my toddler, we did something similar where he had the chili we were having and the cheese we were having. He just had on the side as a little side dish. And of course, I always have some sort of a fruit on his plate, so I had some grapes. And that white thing you see there is some yogurt. It's unsweetened vanilla almond milk yogurt with a little bit of honey and some seeds mixed in there, just to add some variety to his plate. Now, Wednesday night. For Wednesday night, our plans were the salmon burger with the pita and the salad. And unfortunately, on Wednesday, my son got sick. So at nighttime, we were more busy dealing with my son being sick, and he had a bit of a fever, and I did not have the time to make those salmon burgers. So we scratched that plan and did pasta with salad instead. We still had plenty of pasta left over. We still had a salad kit. So we thought, okay, let's keep it simple tonight. We got bigger things to worry about, like our child being sick. So we just warmed up that pasta as leftovers and mixed up the other salad kit. We had done the Mediterranean salad kit on Monday, and for this day we did the Southwestern salad kit instead. And this was a nice, delicious meal, and I was hoping this would also entice my son to eat too, because he had a very bad appetite that day from just being sick. And then I tried to whip together a plate for him similar to us. I gave him some pasta, I gave him a granola bar with some chocolate chips, hoping that would entice him, and some cut up apples and some almond butter to dip in, and he ate none of this. So it was a sick day, and that's just how that day went. So we just try to get by and hoped for something better the next day, Thursday. So Thursday night, since we didn't get to do that salmon burger on Wednesday, we switched it over to Thursday instead. And it's always nice to have that kind of flexibility with having leftovers around the house. By Thursday, my son was feeling a little bit better, so we decided to air fry up those salmon burgers. His appetite was getting better too. So these are those frozen salmon burgers that I had shown you in a previous video. You put these in the air fryer, and they're gonna go in the air fryer. They do take a little bit of time, so you gotta plan ahead, but they go in at 400 for 6 minutes at first, and then you're going to be flipping them afterwards and then going for another 6 minutes. So this was after the first 6 minutes, and then I flip them around. You can see they've already started to soften up a little bit. The package instructions say 12 to 13 minutes. I've tried it in my air fryer, and 12 minutes seems to work well for us, where it's still moist and juicy inside without drying out. 13 minutes dried it out a little bit for us. So if you end up buying these, just give it a try. Maybe try a little bit on the underside the first time around to see how it works for you. But these are so simple to make. So I just flip them around, put them back in the air fryer for another 6 minutes at 400, and then they're going to fry up. So having something like these frozen salmon burgers is a great option for weeknights when you want to get a good lean protein in, but you don't have the time to cook up all these different proteins, or something that takes more time. An air fryer is a great way to get some quick cooking in there. All right, so these were my salmon burgers once they were done. And then I love to top them off with the seasoning. This is a Flavor God Everything seasoning. We found this at Costco actually. They had a sample of these salmon burgers with this seasoning, and we all loved it, and we bought it then, and we've just been buying it since. You literally just top it off with it. This is how the lady at Costco was doing it when she was passing out the samples. She was just topping off the top with the seasoning, and it tastes amazing. I would highly recommend it for a nice, easy meal. Now, I'm planning on putting that salmon burger in a pita with some salad kit. And since we had the salad kit the night before, this is all we were left over with. I completely overestimated the amount of salad I was going to have for the week with the salad kits. So I thought, you know what? I have these 2 avocados at home. Maybe I can mash up some avocado to go in there with the salad kit to make it a little bit more filling. And this recipe that I'm going to show you, honestly, it's not really a recipe, it's just kind of what I've learned to do by myself at home, is just a mashed avocado. We love guacamole at our house, but going through the trouble of making guacamole isn't necessarily feasible for a weeknight for us, where I go and grab the onions and the tomatoes and chop everything up and make a beautiful guacamole. So instead, what I've learned to do is just take avocado and make kind of our own simpler version, which is just a mashed avocado with some seasonings and some lime juice in there. So I'm scooping out these avocados as I'm going through, and I'm noticing that they're not really the greatest. So I was trying to go around all the brown bits that I'm seeing in there, hoping to save what I got. And avocado is a great option to include on a weekly basis. I don't whether you have it day to day. Most people don't eat avocado day to day, I think, but maybe a few times a week. It's a good way of incorporating some healthy fats into either breakfast or lunch or dinner. It could be kind of a mashed topping like this as part of your dinner. It could be mashed on a toast or sliced on a toast, or avocado toast as we know it. Whether you chop it up and add it to your salads, or whether you just have it as a snack. Maybe you mash it and then you dip some crackers in there or some other veggies in there, or some tortilla chips in there too. There are so many different uses for avocado that it's a good healthy fat to add in to your weekly diet, to add more nutrition into what you're eating. So I got my avocado in there. I got those 2 avocados in there, and I'm gonna put some lime juice. And I understand this is bottled lime juice and it's not the same as fresh limes. If you keep fresh limes in your house and you can squeeze that in, so much better. But we don't keep limes around the house too often. But we typically tend to have some lime juice left over from some cocktail making of some sort. So I typically just use that dash of lime juice in there, and I threw in some garlic powder, which is always a go-to, and then I'm going to go in with some salt and pepper. So very simple on the seasoning: garlic powder, salt, pepper, lime juice, and just some mashed avocado. And all you're going to do after you get the pepper in is just mash it all together until it's the consistency you like, whether you like it chunky or more mashed, up to you. And that's another thing to always pay attention with foods. If there's certain foods that maybe you enjoy in certain ways, like let's say avocado, maybe biting into a slice of avocado isn't for you, but you like it mashed in the form of a guacamole or the mashed avocado I'm showing you. Whatever works for you, cater to yourself. You don't have to follow these recipes and things that you see on the internet, including what I'm showing you right now. You don't have to follow any of it if it does not work for you. This is what works for me, and I love showing it, and I like describing the process, especially my thought process behind what I'm doing, so that hopefully it gets your mind thinking that way too. Because once we cater to our preferences and find ways to work within that, we're a lot more successful with sticking to the lifestyle changes we want to make. So you know what, if sliced avocado isn't for you but mashed avocado works for you, then have mashed avocado every single time. Who says you have to have sliced avocado? You don't. Do what works for you. And you'll see I've got this mashed pretty well, and this is where I'm going to give this a try. And unfortunately, this is when I realized that my avocados have gone bad. I did not notice it. I knew there were some brown bits, and you'll get the cut right there, but I realized it does not taste good. So unfortunately, I had to scrap that idea. But if I was able to keep that mashed avocado, that would have been a great addition to what you're about to see as I put together this pita sandwich that I envisioned for this meal. Now I start by cutting that slit on the side of the pita and opening it up. And I'm doing this way more gently because I'm showing this to you on YouTube. Whereas if I was just doing this at home myself, I would just kind of rip it open and go with it. But if you want to make it nice, get a little knife, cut through on the side, open it up nicely, and make yourself a nice pita pocket. Look at how much space you have in there. fill it up with veggies and protein and anything else you want to do to make a nice little compact sandwich for yourself that doesn't have to use bread. Alright, so I'm putting that salmon burger in there, and if I had the mashed avocado, I would have spread a layer on that in there to add some sort of a sauce dressing type of thing. And then next I'm going to go in with that salad kit and just fill up that pocket with the salad kit. Now overall, all together, just the burger and the salad kit and the pita, they taste good together, but it was a little bit dry once we actually ate it. So I think having that mashed avocado in there would have been great. We were also brainstorming how else we could improve this in the future, and I think using maybe some sort of like a tzatziki sauce or yogurt sauce or something like a refreshing kind of cooling sauce would really help too, if you were throwing like a drizzle of that over the top. Or maybe a salsa of some sort, but it definitely does need more liquids in there. Overall, this was a great idea. The other thing I would do differently next time is, you see that big patty in there? I mean, the patty tastes great, amazing, but just so there's not so much bread around it, I think what I would have done is probably chopped up the burger, mixed it in with the salad and maybe some other dressing, and then tossed it all together and then filled the pita pocket with that. I think that would have probably made it way more balanced with less just bread space. But that's what it looked like. I put some grapes on the side because I just felt like there weren't enough fruits and veggies on the plate. And so this is what we ended up with. And it was a really filling meal. Just didn't work out the way I envisioned, but I have ideas on how to improve it. And there's that salmon burger. I chopped it up for my son. So probably next time I would chop it up like that for us too, and then mix it with the salad and put it in the pita pocket. And he's got some grapes, some pita, and those are some almond butter puffs, hoping that it would kind of help entice him to eat a little bit more because his appetite was still pretty bad by that point. Saturday night, now this is the last night, and we had just chili with rice, and I had originally planned to do some frozen rice with this, but then my mom stopped by with some homemade white rice, and I thought, yeah, let's use it. Brown rice, of course, does have a little bit more fiber, but between brown rice and white rice, not a huge difference nutritionally, and if I have delicious homemade rice at home, why not? Topped it off with some chili, and all together, this made a really delicious filling meal. So those were my meals for the week. There's that chili. A nice close-up of the chili with the beans. This really was good with the rice. So I highly suggest doing some leftover chili with rice if you've never tried that before.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this 3-part series showing you how you can meal plan and meal prep for the week. I hope you walk away from this series with some ideas for you and your family that you can implement on a day-to-day basis. I will always emphasize the importance of making those little changes, those little lifestyle changes to put in healthier habits into your day-to-day routine. So as you watch my videos, I hope you pick up on little tips here and there that you can implement into your day-to-day life, because I guarantee you, when you make those little changes along the way, take those baby steps, by the time you're down the road and you've been doing these changes for a while, you'll start to see these big differences in your health, in the way you feel, just by those little changes you made alone. You don't have to do these big changes, big fad diets where you're scrapping everything you're doing and starting from scratch and sticking to something so restrictive for a small period of time, hoping that you'll get the results you're looking for. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to be healthier, make those little changes every day. Add more vegetables to your meals. Add more fruit to your snacks. Switch to more lean proteins instead. Add more whole grains. All these habits make a difference in the long run. So my goal here is to show you how you can do this on a day-to-day basis, how you can make those changes so that hopefully it helps you to be able to do those in your day-to-day life. Thanks again for staying tuned, and please subscribe and follow my channel for more content. I really strive to make healthy simple for everyone so that hopefully we can all move towards a better, healthier future for all of us. Thanks again for staying tuned, and I hope you enjoy the content. Please be on the lookout for more videos from me. Thanks again and have a great day. Bye.